parking situation was going to be bad. We decided to make our way downtown early and eat dinner before the big night out. Thus, we would already have a choice parking spot once the 6th Street masses began to flood in. Jeff's girlfriend Jennifer was in charge of driving duties, picking up my roommate Greg and myself along the way. Greg suggested that we enjoy dinner at a joint called Jazz, a Cajun restaurant / bar / music venue. We arrived just in time for our first round of beverages to still be eligible for happy hour. Score one for Greg. Greg's scorecard would prove to be complicated throughout the night. Time began to trickle by, and our drinks long since slipped away. We soon came to realize that we might not be our server's top priority, and that she was a bit of a prickly pear. Her name was Tammy, and as far as we could tell, Tammy hated her job, her coworkers, she hated the 4 of us, and pretty much the rest of the entire world. When Tammy finally got around to taking our orders, she seemed put off and dismissive. And when she finally got around to actually bringing our orders out to us, all of which were wildly incorrect, terrible Tammy Poo-Poo Face was unapologetically curt and rather scoffy, to say the least. Now, before anyone starts throwing the word Karen around, that term did not yet exist at the time. And besides, all 4 of us at the table worked in food service and were well aware of the whole horrible lifestyle and circumstances. True, Tammy was in the weeds, and she no doubt had some other shit going on in her life. Nonetheless, she was not handling it well. And as far as our collective dining experience was concerned, it was slow, it was wrong, and it was rude. It was time for us to cut our losses and leave. Let's get ourselves a restart and put this Friday night into motion. We waved for the check. We waved again. We even did the little hand signal and everything, multiple times. Tammy acknowledged us multiple times, but she simply would not come to our table. She kept disappearing into the back, presumably the kitchen. Eventually, Greg flopped his napkin on the table and said it. Fuck it, let's just leave. Immediately, all 3 of us joined in a chorus of rebuttal. Whoa, 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 hell no. Nah, that's not me. I'm not going to dine and dash. Are you crazy? Jeff was adamant. Jennifer was disgusted. I was thirsty. Nonetheless, walking out on our bill was certainly out of the question. Absolutely not. She'll come back around. Just relax. Yeah, man, have some patience. Jesus. We tried flagging her down several more times. Tammy did nothing but look away and walk away. Greg shrugged an I told you so shrug. Everyone looked at each other. I squirmed in my seat and offered an idea. Oh, I'll go see if we can pay it off with the bartender. I strolled quite legally over to the bar, where I could not only acquire the bill, but also quench my thirst at the very same time. I was instantly informed that I would need to open a new tab at the bar for the drink, and as for the food, I would need to still settle up with our evil, ornery ogre server beast. I returned to the table with the bad news. Out of the question. Absolutely not. Greg elbowed in close. We're doing this. Jeff and Jennifer were aghast. They wanted no part of it. They shook their heads and wagged their fingers and told Greg he was being that guy. They told Greg he was a thief, being dishonest, and that he is everything that's wrong with society today. In fact, they got so upset, they just packed up all their stuff and walked out. They just stood their asses up and walked out the goddamn door. I don't think Greg even realized what had just happened, because he quickly turned to me, eyes sharp and serious. Okay, here's the plan. He was speaking in hushed, clandestine whisper tones. I leaned in closer. Here's what we do. We need to be calm. We need to be ice cold. Just slowly, casually stand up, all nice and easy. Just stand up and walk away. Just stand up and stroll out that door. He looked at me, waiting for a response. So, can you do that? Yeah? Can I count on you to be chill? Yeah? Can I count on you to be ice cold? Yeah, ice cold. Good. Now, the next time she goes to the back, I'll give us a countdown. And then what do? He waited for me to answer again. What do we do? Oh, we stand up and walk out the door. How? Chill and ice cold. Greg settled back into his chair like a mob boss without a worry in the world. I was trying to keep my eye on Tammy without looking like I was trying to keep my eye on Tammy. I blew it. She caught me. I quickly pivoted and decided to make use of the eye contact. I gave her the check hand signy thingy one more time to hopefully end the whole ridiculous ordeal. Tammy pretended not to notice. Greg stretched and yawned because he was so ice cold and chill. Eventually, Tammy huffed and snorted at a few more patrons and then made her way back to the kitchen area again. That's when Greg slowly leaned forward and placed his arms on the table. I did the same. After another quick glance at the back kitchen door, he began to whisper very quietly and deliberately, "I'm gonna count to 3. I nodded. "Remember, be calm, be chill, ice cold." I nodded again. He then started counting, very easy, very soothing. 1. I took in a deep breath. 2. I nodded that I was ready. He nodded back. Greg never got to 3. He just shot up from the table like a tomcat. The back of his knees clacked the front of his chair, sending it skidding across the floor. It crashed into some people behind him. He darted through the room, scrambling between tables and chairs and confused Cajun customers. Once clear of the dining area and approaching the exit, his foot slipped, and he clipped a bar stool with his left hip. It careened off the edge of the bar and went flying into the air. At this moment, time slowed down. The bar stool is airborne. It is hurtling toward the big plate glass window facing 6th Street. You can read ZZAJ backwards in large cursive red letters over an image of a saxophone. There are little, almost dancing musical symbols flowing from the bell of the saxophone to insinuate beautiful music being played. Just below the big plate glass window facing 6th Street is mounted a massive 800-gallon exotic saltwater fish tank. Meanwhile, Greg is still sprinting in slow-mo toward the front door. By that point, everyone in the building is watching in shock and anticipation, me included. The bar stool is spinning and stumbling towards an imminent glass catastrophe. We all hold our breath. The air in the room goes quiet as the bar stool just barely glances over the top of the fish tank and flips up to the big plate glass window facing 6th Street. The crowd gasps. The crowd clinches. Tammy misses it. She's in the back. The bar stool makes contact with the big plate glass window facing 6th Street squarely with the cushy, squishy, luxuriously padded seat cushion. The bar stool harmlessly bounces off the saxophone and lands with a clap and scrapes to a halt on the empty stage directly in front of the seating area. After a soft beat of silence, everyone in the room gives out the exact same unanimous sigh of relief. Whew, me included. Meanwhile, the front door quietly swings to a close. Instantly, space-time returned to normal as the chatter spread across the room. "Oh my God, did you see that? Who was that guy? Have you seen Tammy?" Nobody could believe it, me included. I was shocked and confused and relieved all at the same time. In fact, I was so upset, all I could do was stand my ass up and walk out the goddamn door. Chill and ice cold. Nobody even knew I was there. I never did find Jeff and Jennifer that night, the expert dine and dashers, but I did find Greg about an hour later. He was in an alley behind a place called the Black Cat, trying to convince a bouncer to let him go inside the club to use their bathroom. The bouncer wasn't having any of it. He had told Greg several times that without an ID, there was nothing he could do. A short while later, while Greg and I were both pissing behind a dumpster around the corner, I had to ask, "Greg, where's your ID?" His pee stopped. "You like Cajun food?"